Wisconsin.
If you want to live this life, you better lose that wife. Do you need your friends around? I said, no, that's not me.
A man born and raised in Waukesha. He did his first hunting and fishing right here. Now he hunts the world and cooks it up deliciously, featured as the Midwestern host of The Fowl Life on the Outdoor Channel. Joel Clayfish was raised in the Shaw.
A couple extra pounds never really hurt, 'cause a country boy is all I'll ever be.
Good evening, Wisconsin. You're listening to Raised in the Shaw with me, Joel Clayfish. Yes, I was raised in the Shaw on 540 AM, WAUK 101 FM, The Shaw. You know, one of the fascinating things about the state of Wisconsin is there is always something to do in the outdoors. And right now, we're dead center in the middle of turkey hunting season in the spring. And I have to tell you, I get giddy when I start seeing those turkeys strutting, because they'll start in February and there's still snow on the ground, and you'll drive past the field, you'll see a turkey strut. Now they're all grouped up at that time. You've got your Toms and Jakes all hanging out like they're buddies, and then the group of hens is hanging out separately from them. And as the spring develops, those Toms start breaking off and fighting each other and kind of establish the pecking order, if you will. And it's very apropos for turkeys. And a group of turkeys, little known fact, is called a rafter of turkeys. That's a rafter of turkeys, which is different than crows. Crows is a murder of crows. Now, whoever came up with a murder for crows, I have no idea. But I guess that's fairly fitting, too, because there are a lot of scenes in movies and television where murders happen and there's crows in the background, which is a lot of the symbolism. This week on the show, we have a fantastic guest. He has been a part of the culture in the state of Wisconsin, in the outdoors, in conservation, in hunting, fishing, and really somebody who has facilitated, and beyond him, even his family and his parents have facilitated people getting into the outdoors. Introductions to the outdoors. Lloyd Marks owns Milford Hills Hunt Club in Milford, Wisconsin, which I'm happy to say is about 12 minutes from my house. But a hunt club is more than just a hunting ground. I mean, you know, Lloyd, welcome to the show. You got a fantastic place out there. You grow the crops that you need to facilitate, you know, the great area for the pheasants and chukars and other types of birds. But it's great to have you here. You have a long history in Wisconsin and in the outdoors.
Thank you, Joel, for having me on. Yes, and we're very excited, Milford Hills, and you know, it's not too far from right downtown Waukesha, just a little bit west, right out by Johnson's Creek, just a little bit north of the Owlet Mall, and just under 500 acres. So we have the lodge, which we have a full restaurant in there, and then we have another building, the trading post, which we have over 300 guns in stock. So we do a lot of guns, pistols and rifles and shotguns, and we do a lot of classes and training. Then we have a rifle range, a pistol and rifle range. And the 5 stand, we have 2 sporting clay courses and 13 hunting fields. So we do a very lot there. And then in the summer months in through the fall, we do weddings. So we have a lot of weddings there throughout the year.
Lloyd, one of the things that hunt clubs are often, I don't think people think about when they think about a hunt club, is that is a lot of people's first exposure into hunting or even into handling a firearm. And I think there's a lot of apprehension by many people if they miss that gap when they're a kid, when they're young, and they miss that gap or don't have a mentor. I think there's a natural, not necessarily fear, but apprehension by people if they get into midlife or even in their 20s or 30s, that they're kind of afraid to start into hunting because it does deal with something that has to be taken the utmost safety in, and that's the use of a firearm. But I think hunt clubs are underestimated as far as their importance in helping someone become comfortable. Because one of the things I want to talk about is that you do not need a hunting license to
No.
come to a hunt club, do you?
No, you do not. You do not need any.
You don't need a mentored hunting program. You don't need a hunting license.
Nothing.
Now, somebody critical of that might say, well, that's kind of an unsafe scenario. I would say that's the perfect scenario to take somebody who doesn't have knowledge in that area and start to give them that knowledge. Start them out slow, start them out easy with a very prescriptive way and a very wide open concept area to handle a firearm for the first time.
Correct. And we have a lot of classes, and we do have a lot of instructors. We have instructors on site. We have a lot of classes that go out throughout the year, from your pistols to your shotgun instructions to rifles. So we do a lot of instructions, and if people that need help, we usually go and go shoot the gun with them, make sure they're comfortable with it, go to the 5 stand, and before they're comfortable.
What's a 5 stand for anybody who doesn't know what that is?
It's almost something. It's a deck, and it's sporting clays. Pretty much, there's 8 traps, sporting clay traps that are there. They throw clay targets out, and it's a good way. It's a good controlled way to help somebody introduce into the gun industry, the shooting of a shotgun, that can get comfortable with the gun, and you can watch them and help them make sure it's a safe environment.
Is a shotgun a good place to start for someone who's never handled a firearm?
That's a great question, and we just had this conversation today. We try to get the person into what their needs are when they come there and they say they want to shoot a gun. Well, what is your need? Do you want to go target clay target practice? Do you want to go to the rifle range? Do you want to use it for home defense? Do you want to go hunting? So we try to get them into the right class, into the right area right away we know exactly what they're thinking.
Well, and a lot of it is about frame of mind. And I think a lot of people, when they say, okay, I'm moving over the threshold of personal determination to shoot a gun,
Yep.
I think a lot of times those people naturally think, I'm going to go shoot a handgun. I
Yep.
want to go shoot a pistol.
Yes.
Bang, bang, like I see on television.
Yep.
And that may not be the best way to start understanding firearms.
It's probably not. The shotgun is very controlled. You can put one shell in there, and you can discharge, it very safely at a clay target. And sometimes the handguns, it's very challenging sometimes with a handgun because they have something that maybe they saw or they heard, but that really might not fit their hand correctly. It might not really be the one that they should be using. So the shotgun we always like is a very easy way to start.
Yeah, I find very often that a shotgun and even the shotgun sports are a great way to get into the outdoors, even if you're talking about harvesting game that you're going to put on the table. How many new hunters do you see? Do you see a lot of new people who've never experienced hunting before?
Yes, we see a lot of new hunters, and every day we're getting inquiries about new hunters, new shooters, new people that want to get into the industry. Asking for instructions. So we do a lot of that, and we see a lot of those new people coming into the shooting sports.
Why is it something good for someone to start out, at a hunt club or in a field with upland game? Upland game is very different. Hunting upland game is very different than waterfowl hunting. It's very different than deer hunting, where you've got a rifle, and if you shoot that bullet in the air, it can go miles before it ends.
Yep.
But I think upland hunting and in some ways turkey hunting has got some overlap as to a great way for somebody to start who's interested in the possibility of taking game from the field to the table.
Yeah, it's a controlled environment. You walk in a straight line with people, and you have other people usually out there to help you. And it's a controlled environment. You have the dogs working out in front, and the bird gets up. You see the blue sky in the back, and you can discharge your firearm. It's a very safe way to hunt and to get into the shooting sports.
How did the Marks family end up, at owning one of the premier places in the state to go pheasant hunting, to introduce people to the sport with all the different shooting sports and varieties you have, and the clubs and the leagues and all the rest? I mean, what was it about the outdoors of Wisconsin and conservation that was important to your family to start that?
Yeah, so it was my brother and I. We started back in putting an idea together in 95 and 96. We started releasing pheasants. We started with 188 acres. And We started off very small, and it was nothing, and we just kept building, and we are today. So my brother, he was out of the business 6 years now, and so now it's me solely running the business, and it's been going great.
What goes through your mind when somebody comes out and they see that, and you see them have a successful day? And I want to be clear, success in hunting, so much with the social media these days, success is measured in pile picks,
Yep.
and birds hanging and racks and the competitive nature that exists on social media. I would say, as an avid hunter, as an avid person who eats everything they kill, I don't think it's as much about the social media aspect and the competitive nature as it really is about the experience.
It's the experience and the smile on the face when they come in. We don't really want to talk numbers, how many they harvested. We want them to have a great time. It's all about having a great time in the outdoors. And when they leave Milford Hills, we want to make sure there's a smile on their face.
And you're not just a pheasant hunter yourself, are you?
No.
You like to hunt game across the board.
Yeah, I like to hunt all sorts of big game. Big game, waterfowl, upland birds, fish, anything in the outdoors.
And what does that do to you when you know that you work and you've given your life to conservation in the outdoors? What does that do to you and for you when you see that kind of reaction and you see that light go on and know from that moment forward you've changed somebody's life because now they're going to invest time and their free time and their effort and their money, frankly, into hunting?
Yeah, it's a great feeling. And, some of the people only hunting experience they have is coming to Milford Hills. I mean, it is their only experience in the hunting in the outdoors is coming to a place like Milford Hills. So it's a great experience, and it puts a smile on your face.
Yeah. We're talking with Lloyd Marks from Milford Hills, owns Milford Hills Hunt Club, which is, I have to admit, one of the very first places that I got a hunting experience in my life. And it was a fantastic hunting experience. And if you are apprehensive, don't be afraid to go to a hunt club, to go somewhere where there's tons of experts, dog handlers, people who know how to show you the firearm before you use it. One of the things that this show is about is making sure you are able to feel comfortable taking the step into the outdoors of Wisconsin, because this is such a great state with such great resources, and it's really important we continue to protect them. When we come back, we're going to talk with Lloyd about cooking and eating what you kill, which is certainly something that's done out there, and certainly something I love, the provider lifestyle. You're listening to Raised in the Shaw with me, Joel Clayfish, on 540 AM, WAUK 101 FM, The Shaw.
You wanna sell 1,000,000 records?
The red, the white, the blue. The other one's got a rattlesnake with a simple statement made.
Welcome back, Wisconsin and Waukesha. Raised in the Shaw with me, Joel Clayfish, every Thursday from 7 to 8 o'clock. And I have affectionately named the studio here the Fishbowl. My last name's Clayfish, get it? The Fishbowl. Because we're right on Wisconsin Avenue, 217 Wisconsin Avenue. Swing by, wave to us, say hello. Right downtown Waukesha. And we are at the heart of it here with Lloyd Marks from Milford Hills talking about hunting. We're going to do this next segment about kids and hunting. We're going to talk about food and preparing food and the relationship you and I have had for so many years when it comes to taking food from field to table, which I think is sincerely one of the most important things about harvesting wild game.
Yes, definitely.
Using it.
Yep, using it.
So Lloyd, and I'd be remiss, Lloyd brought his son Royce along today. Royce, what do you think so far?
I really like the podcast or this thing.
Well, it's live radio, but that's what
I'm so used to listening to podcasts. Podcasts are wrapped in my head.
No surprise.
Yeah.
The youngster along says it's a great podcast. Well, we'll take it either way, and you can listen to the show in retrospect. So I guess that would be similar to a podcast. But, is it I'm going to put you on the spot. Was it tough growing up in a family that was so involved in the outdoors that it was part of not only the lifestyle, not only the business, but really how your dad and mom make a living? So this is not just fun and games for them. This is how they put, pay for the roof over your head. Was that tough? Was it enjoyable? Was it a mix of both?
I really didn't see it as tough. I kind of see it as like fun to get out of my house and go out in the outdoors and have fun. And it was more of like a thing of kind of stress reliever and stuff. Just go out in the woods, relax, look at the good scenery, maybe shoot deer, shoot a turkey. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's good seeing the scenery, get out, fresh air.
I guess it's got to be a positive experience. I mean, I think it would be a fantastic positive experience to grow up in it, because you do then have somewhat of a comfort level around it, which I think is tougher for some older folks who start into it. But you grew up around it, and where safety is always emphasized, and the importance of making sure you're aware of where you are in regard to other people near you when you have a firearm in your hand. So that must have been advantageous to you. That must have been enjoyable to you.
Yeah, that was really fun. People kind of looked at me like, why does this little kid have a firearm? But it's fun. I'm usually the one that my dad usually teases to me. Are you gonna get him, or are you gonna get him this year for deer? It's usually competition, and well, yeah.
Well, if you were to tell me you were a better shot than your dad, that wouldn't surprise me.
I'm pretty close.
My daughter's a better shot than I am. So, but I think women shoot better than men. That's what I think.
And my mom's pretty good at elk hunting. My dad went out. My mom shot more elk than my dad so far.
Well, that means I got to go elk hunting a few more times.
I think maybe you got to elk hunt a little more. And Lloyd, I know you are incredibly busy, but part of the culture in the state of Wisconsin is that we teach the next generation to utilize the resource and conserve the resource, and that part of it's very important to you too.
Yes, it is. We do a lot of hunter safety classes, learn to hunt. We do the learn to pheasant hunt. We have learn to turkey hunt. We have all those programs that we run through Milford Hills to help the next generation of hunters coming up.
Yeah, and I think sometimes people underestimate the importance of taking someone else hunting of any age.
You're 100%. And you got to get people in. Once they get out and they do it, they love it. You never hear too many people that ever say they don't like the outdoors, or hunting, or pheasant hunting, or even deer hunting, whatever that might be, turkey hunting. They always come out with a smile on their face.
I have a great story with a friend I took out hunting, and she had never hunted before. And the first thing she told me in the blind was, I don't know if I can kill something if it gets in front of me. And I said, that's okay. That's perfectly okay. If you can't and you don't feel comfortable, because sometimes people don't realize the gravity and magnitude of taking a life of something God created. Yep. And that's what you're doing. Now you're putting it on the dinner table, and I would argue it's even more responsible than going to buy it at the grocery store where someone else has raised it and killed it.
It's true organic there.
Yeah, no, it's definitely organic eating. But when she was in the blind and she was giving her apprehensions about her ability to actually kill something, as soon as that turkey showed up in the corner of the field 500 yards away, she was clawing over the top of me, can I shoot it yet? And I said, no, it's got to get closer. But you see this look on somebody's face, and I think it's an indescribable look, because when you're with a new hunter and they take their first game, when they kill that first animal, the first thing they do is look at you.
Yes.
That's the first thing they always do. They never jump up and down. No. They never start hooting and hollering. They look at you
to make sure,
to verify
it was good.
They want you to verify to them, yup, you got it.
Yeah,
and I always say, you got it. You got it. Go take a look at your turkey, or go, grab your pheasant or grab your duck. And what's always amazing to me is that person has that look of excitement mixed with a bit of remorse, which is okay.
Yep.
because you want to have the appreciation that you've killed something and taken a life. And then there is the satisfaction of knowing that you're going to take that from the field to the table. And that's something important at Milford Hills.
Yes.
Is that you have so many dishes and so many items you guys make out of the pheasant. And I shouldn't say just pheasant. You hunt partridge there.
Yeah, pheasants, chuckers, and quail.
And you hunt quail there. And
Yep.
they make amazing table fare, all of them, don't
Yes,
they?
they do. They all make very, very great different flair that we do have. One of the very popular items here is the pheasant poppers at Milford Hills. I mean, we're known for our pheasant poppers. We sell the most of anything on our menus of pheasant poppers, and it's very popular item. So we do have a lot of different flares that we do way we can prepare the pheasant and the chuckers and quail.
When we come back, I'm going to make you tell a secret recipe for the pheasant poppers so people can make them at home. And then we're going to talk about some of the outreach that some of the hunt clubs do in the state of Wisconsin and how important it is to them to be part of society. We might even touch a little bit on the fact that being in this industry isn't always easy. You've always got neighbors, you're making noise, you're shooting guns, and sometimes you need the support of the community and the support of your lawmakers to make sure that you're able to operate and bring people their right to hunt and fish in the state of Wisconsin, which is a constitutional right and very important as well. So when we come back, we're going to continue our conversation with Lloyd and Royce Marks. You're listening to 540 AM, WAUK 101 FM, The Shaw. I'm your host, Joel Clayfish, and this is Raised in the Shaw.
I bet there's rich folks eating from a fancy dining car. They're probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. Well, I know I had it coming. I know I can't.
Raised in the Shaw. Welcome back, Wisconsin. I'm Joel Clayfish. I was raised in the Shaw, and I spent a great deal of my life in the outdoors of Wisconsin, one of the greatest places to live, surrounded by two of the Great Lakes, the Mississippi River, the Ole Miss, the Old Man, and the most inland lakes of any state in the country. Yes, sorry, Minnesota, your license plate says 10,000 lakes. I think we've got 10,001 at least. Lloyd Marks is joining me. Lloyd owns Milford Hills Hunt Club, and we've been having a great conversation about getting people into the outdoors, the conservation aspect of the outdoors, making people comfortable with a firearm. You know, that's very important. Now let's talk for a minute about food. My favorite dish. And, you know, my wife is a cancer survivor. She was diagnosed with cancer at age 35. And we love to eat organic meat. And there is no better source of organic meat than meat that's harvested and brought to the table.
Yes, that is 100%, you know, and it's great. It's a great way to use the animal that you harvested and put it on the dinner plate.
What do you do over at Milford Hills with pheasants and chuckers and partridge?
So we have different entrees. We have the pheasant club sandwich, is very popular, that we serve a lot of. We have pheasant pot pies, pheasant chili, pheasant noodle soup. We have another soup that's pheasant wild rice, pheasant dumpling. So there's a lot of different things that we do in the food industry that we offer the pheasants and the quail and the chuckers for entrees.
So I'm going to ask somebody who's actually in the business, in the industry, making a living doing it. How often do you get people who say, "Oh, I don't want it. I don't want to try it," and then they try it, don't even know it's pheasant, and think this is the most delicious chicken noodle soup you ever made me?
Yeah, you do hear people are coming out, or we might have a business meeting there, and they're like, "I don't know if I want pheasant," and then I'm just gonna have regular soup, and here it is pheasant noodle soup, and then they loved it and they thought it was great. So you do hear that, but there's a lot of people that are always interested in trying out the pheasant, and I think they go away very happy.
No doubt. One of the biggest kicks I get is people who constantly tell me geese are gross to eat. Geese
Yeah.
are not appetizing to eat. And I will make goose enchiladas or wild goose pot pies or things out of goose, and people eat it and they say, man, that is the best shredded beef I've ever eaten.
and here it is wild goose.
It's goose. And my wife, who was 10, 15 years ago, was very leery of eating wild game. Her favorite thing to eat is goose now.
Really?
Yeah, that's her favorite. I'll make like mallard fajitas, which are phenomenal in my opinion. She'll say, well, they're pretty good, but they're not as good as goose.
Wow, that's kind of unique. Usually, everybody likes a duck more than the goose, but
Yeah, well, I love cooking, and I think one of my favorite things about cooking wild game is that wild game, first of all, it's a very lean meat. All wild game's a very lean meat.
Yes.
It's a lean protein.
Yep.
And it's all susceptible to the flavors you add to it.
So, marinating is one way to get the wildness out of it. There's some people that taste gamey. And if you can marinate, Joel, you're more of a expertise on that end of it. But yeah, you marinate it, and some people say you wrap it with bacon and everything tastes good. So just different ways.
Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with wrapping something with bacon. So tell us the pheasant popper recipe so that people can make it at home.
Well, I'm going to keep that one a little close to my heart on that than the recipe. But, it's pheasant, bacon, and a jalapeno. And besides that, I'll keep the rest a little close to my chest.
So you've got some kind of marinade or flavoring going on in there.
Yeah, there's sometimes the tricks of the trade how we do it. But we do not give out any of our recipes, so I keep that close to.
I'm going to give a little secret that I have. A lot of times people will use serrano peppers when they do a popper, or they'll use the raw jalapeno. I like it that way. But one of the things that I like to do is use the pickled jalapeno, but I will rinse the pickled jalapeno first. And the reason I do that is because anytime you add a little bit of a vinegar or an acid to something with wild game, there are three things that take away the, quote, gamey taste. Now, I don't taste the gamey taste anymore because that's all I eat is wild game.
Yep.
But there are three things that break down the wild game taste, and that's acid, because it's in the pH of the meat. It's in the meat, in the pH of the meat, and an acid breaks down the pH. So an acid, like a vinegar of some sort, which is in anything pickled, balsamic, a wine will do it also. You can marinate in any of those things, and they're going to fight that, and then heat over time, and then physically breaking down. If you pound something out, you're going to get rid of a lot of the gamey taste because it is in there. But what I'll tell you, when I make poppers, when I make pheasant poppers at home, or duck poppers, goose poppers, you name it, what I like to do is put them in with some Napa Valley olive oil and then balsamic vinegar overnight in the fridge. And when they're in the fridge, that colder temperature really gets that marinade to integrate into it. And if you use some spices in there, some of the provider spices or some garlic spices or any, go to a local butcher shop, and you're going to find the local butcher shop's got their own spice blend.
Yes.
And usually those are fantastic for using for rubs or marinades. Try it out. Because I'll tell you, when you sit it overnight, that's going to do magic on it. Take that, put it with a little slice of rinsed, pickled jalapeno, wrap it in bacon, throw it on a toothpick through it, and throw it on the Traeger or the charcoal grill, and you are gonna be very happy with yourself, and you're gonna have an appetizer or a main course that everybody is gonna be happy to eat. Royce, do you like eating those?
Poppers? Yeah.
Yeah.
I love them.
He loves them. Well, of course, I would hope so. So Royce is Lloyd Mark's son, and he's joining us. He's along for the ride on Raised in the Shaw this Thursday afternoon. And you not only are the son of somebody who owns, a pheasant farm, a hunt club, you have taken the sport seriously on a very personal level, don't you? You participate in the fastest growing high school sport in the country right now, which is
Trap. Well, now it's also in middle school, which is 6th, 7th, and 8th for there. But yeah, it's fun, fast. It's something.
For audience members who listen to this show just because of the awesomeness and frivolity, explain to the audience what trap is, what it means, what you do, and how you got into it.
All right, so I got into it because there's a club. We have clubs in our school, and so there's a club and it said shooting. I'm like, all right, I shoot spraying clays a lot in the summer. I'm like, it's trap. Okay, I'll start with trap. And trap it's called a trap house. It has a clay thrower in the house, 5 stations, and you stand at one station, and then you say pull, get your gun up ready, and then as soon as you say pull, that clay comes out, turn off the safety, and you pull trigger, one shot. And that's kind of how I started into trap, and I love it.
So trap shooting, you've heard the term clay pigeons.
Yep.
That is, you're shooting clay pigeons
Yep.
that are launched out of a mechanical device where somebody is safely pulling the trigger for that clay pigeon to fly out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of them now are all automatic. The machines. There's nobody in the trap house
No.
like the old days.
So
everything's
Yeah.
automatic.
There's one person behind us, so we say pull, and there's one person keeping score for us.
And so you shoot that. You have one shell in the chamber.
Yep.
And you said something that you said kind of quickly that I think is really important to people, and it's important about all shooting sports, and that's the fact that safety does not come off until you've acquired a target acquisition, safety off, then pull the trigger. So what's going through your mind when this is happening to be a good trap shooter?
My mind is the person next to me shooting. I get my stance. I get ready. If you ever rode in the car with me to trap shooting, I never talk in the way there. Basically, I just keep my mindset. And my mindset, I'm thinking, this clay pigeon is going to go up, and I'm gonna smoke it. My mind is beat the next kid next to me. That's my goal. And so when I get down my stance, I get the gun up. I get my thumbs right on that safety. As soon as I say pull, that safety goes off. Find the trigger, boom. There goes the pigeon.
Well, what's your average?
Yesterday, last Monday, I did 2 rounds of 25. I shot 19 in both.
Heck yeah.
And then there was a little bit of crosswind, so the clays were jumping, but I'm not going to use that excuse.
And I'm going to tell you, the reason I goose hunt instead of clay pigeon shoot? Geese are a lot bigger.
Yeah, they are a lot bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Geese are a lot bigger, and I have a better chance of hitting one because I could not be hitting 19 out of 25, and that's fantastic. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the things that Milford Hills does to invest in their community. You're listening to Raised in the Shaw with me, Joel Clayfish, on 540 AM, WAUK 101 FM, The Shaw.
How long do I have to wait? Can I get denied? Said, must I hesitate?
Yeah! Coming to you live from the Fishbowl, Joel Clayfish on Raised in the Shaw on WAUK 540 AM, 101 FM, The Shaw. Our guests today are Lloyd Marks from Milford Hills Hunt Club and his son Royce. Went into the break talking about trap shooting and trap shooting at school. One of the tough things is trap shooting is a growing sport in middle school and high school, and there are very specific laws pertaining to bringing firearms onto school properties, and that does make it tough because you've got to go home in order to transport your firearm to the shooting facility. So it means a kid in school cannot bring their firearm to school, leave it in their trunk. I think sometimes. While I completely understand the seriousness of the firearm on a school grounds, I think that sometimes the laws should be looked at very carefully as to, honest mistakes that are made. Right now, the law in the state of Wisconsin is expulsion for someone who mistakenly has a shotgun in their trunk, even if it's cased, unloaded, locked.
Yeah,
and everything.
And I think that has happened out there. I think that
It has happened,
Yeah,
no
that's
question.
happened. Yeah.
And I think one of the things that we need to be cognizant of if we're going to facilitate people who are entering the shooting sports is that people who are ethical hunters and ethical users of the resource are doing the very best they can to follow all the rules. And the part of the problem with the state of Wisconsin is there are so many rules. They're hard to keep track of. Do you run into that at the hunt club and with folks asking you questions about hunting in general?
Yes, all the time. I mean, there are so many rules and regulations. That is one of the biggest hang-ups, and you hear people talk about that. They just get fed up with all the rules and regulations that are in the hunting industry for, each county, each hunting zone. There's always different rules and regulations, and I think that is one thing that they have been working on to get better, but it is still very complicated out there.
It is, and I think that is why a key to utilizing the resource in Wisconsin is the law enforcement of that resource. And we had, and he retired, one of the best to ever wear the uniform, Todd Schaller.
Very good guy.
And also was able to use reasonability in the field.
Yes.
Because you can be the most intelligent, memorized person on earth, and it's still very difficult to know every rule as they change on a regular basis.
Yeah, they change, and sometimes you don't even know they changed. And I'm in the industry 365, and some of the rules and regulations change. You don't even know that they did change unless you're really up on it. And somebody coming that's not into the outdoors as much, it's very hard for them to stay up on what to do, all the regulations that are happening, and they're changing yearly.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. I think, and I think Todd Schaller, as the chief warden, instilled that in his warden force. But I think it's real important to work with the warden force to understand, so that there's an understanding among them that they have leeway in enforcement.
Yes.
And I know intention is never part of the law.
Yep.
The law is not written for what your intention was.
Yep.
But that is why the warden's out there, to try to determine, in my opinion, intention. And someone who's trying to do the right thing, I don't think should be punished as much as someone who's not trying to do the right thing.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that make just mistakes. They didn't know,
Right.
I mean, it's just they weren't intending to do anything wrong. It was just an honest mistake in the outdoor industry. And sometimes that's a bad way, can deter the person forever coming back out into our outdoor industry, which Wisconsin has so much to offer.
Yeah, no question. And one of the things that Milford Hills has to offer, part of what I do in my life is I work for a diverse ability organization called the A-Team, which makes sure that people with diverse abilities and disabilities have a right to choose where they work and how they work. And Robin Kennedy is my boss there, and the Kennedy family are like my most serious listeners to the show. They are the do or die fans who are listening every Thursday. And one of the things we did at Milford Hills, which will forever hold a near and dear place in my heart, is that we had a disabled fishing day out there.
Yep.
And I think we are planning another disabled fishing day out there. And it's important to me, and I think, Lloyd, it's important to you too, to make sure that people who have diverse abilities or may not be able to climb up and down a hill or get to that tight fishing spot still have the opportunity to enjoy Wisconsin's outdoors.
Yeah, to go take part in it. And, our access to our pond where you come down and take the people, that's very great. It's all very groomed. It's cut and manicured. And then we were the first hunt club, shooting facility in the state of Wisconsin to have a track chair for people that couldn't walk the field. So some people, maybe they can walk, but they just can't walk the whole field. They're elderly or they have a bad knee or hip. We do offer that for them. They can take that out and they can go pheasant hunting. So they still can enjoy the outdoors in Wisconsin, and they can watch the dogs work and hunt with their family and friends. And so, it is a big plus for us that we have in that track chair.
And some of the people we brought out to fish on that day, to go fishing, everybody caught something.
Yes.
and it's a fantastic time.
The smile on their face is.
It's absolutely priceless to see
Yeah.
somebody who's never gone fishing in their life come out and catch a fish for the first time in their life, and to be able to do it in such a nice, controlled environment. I mean, is it important to you to find ways to give back, to make sure that everyone has access to the outdoors of Wisconsin and the resources?
We try to do our best to have everybody to have access to the outdoors, even if it's, if it's fishing or if it's come to sporting clays, shooting 5-stand, coming to the range, whatever we can get anybody into the outdoors. If it's pheasant hunting, like I said, we had the track chair, but any of the outdoors that we can get some people out there that need help, we will go take the extra mile to get them there. Do it.
Yeah. Mark Kakich is listening right now.
Oh, yeah.
He's been a past guest on the show, and he's a past state duck calling champion, and he's a character, and he spends a lot of his life.
And a good friend of all of ours.
Yeah, he's a good friend to everyone in the outdoors. Now, sometimes his political philosophies run a bit askew. I'm just going to tell you that if you didn't know that. But
I heckle him here and there about that.
Yeah, so do I. But as long as we're always on the same page as far as the outdoors are concerned, and I think he would agree that if you are a person, if you're fortunate enough and you go through the toils of owning a place that is like Milford Hills, or you're a person who utilizes the outdoors or has access to fields or places to hunt or fish, remember that that's very often a launching point for someone and a change in their life.
Yes, so it is. Some of the people that come into Milford, the launching point of they started hunting there, and now you hear them, they're into doing bigger things. Now they're deer hunting, or now they're going turkey hunting. Now they're actually taking trips to out west. Maybe it might be big game hunting, might be up into Canada duck and goose hunting. So you hear those trips that they do take place, and people, they launch into bigger and better things, which is awesome. It all started right here at Milford Hills.
But that doesn't bother you whatsoever, does it? If someone says, well, I started out pheasant hunting and now I'm into duck hunting or goose hunting or deer hunting or elk hunting or gator hunting.
No, I think it's great because they always come back to Milford, and it's always it's always a part of their I guess their outdoor time is they always come back, and they always come back pheasant hunting and spending time with us out at Milford Hills.
I think for everybody with their first experience in hunting, everyone I've taken and the times that people took me the first time, Tom from Tom's Guns out in Marshall was the first person to ever take me waterfowl hunting. And we had our heads up against a giant manure pile. We were hiding up against a giant manure pile, and I will never forget the smell of manure. Now, it was an opening day of goose hunting, and we crunched them.
Yep.
It was unbelievable, and obviously, I think I shot an entire box to hit my 2 geese. It was a 2 goose limit at the time. But forever, the rest of my life, when I smell manure and pass a farm, that's a good memory for me.
You think of Tom's Guns, you think of hunting with them opening day.
And the time I spent in the field there, the time I've spent at Milford Hills, walking through the sorghum,
Sorghum and the switchgrass,
hoping that a dog, points or scares up a bird. Those are things that you can't quantify.
No, you cannot.
And they have changed my life. And I don't know anybody who's in the outdoors, who utilizes the outdoors, whose life has not been changed for the better because of it.
I would agree with that. I think everybody has been changed for the betterment of once they're in the outdoors, they see the action. I mean, some of it's just the love of watching the dogs work out there. I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, I have to tell you this. Today for lunch, I had wild turkey nuggets, and I eat low carb, so I mixed them. I'm going to give you a recipe here, folks. If you eat no carb, I mixed them with psyllium husk fiber and Parmesan cheese and fried them up, and they get a crunchy coating on the outside of them. And then dip them in some buffalo and ranch. Doesn't matter how old the turkey is, you cut it into small enough bites, it's going to be tender.
It's going to be good.
It was great. And so if you are a new listener to the show or a veteran hunter or fisher person, don't be afraid to contact us here at WAUK 540 AM. It's been another great hour. I look forward to seeing you again next Thursday from 7 to 8 on Raised in the Shaw with Joel Clayfish on 540 AM WAUK 101 FM, The Shaw.
Because you're mine, I walk the line.